Linda from Lányos Handmade, and today we are going to make the Moody Market Apron from the Moody Sewist, and I have to go get it to show it to you because I forgot to sit down with it. This is the Moody Market Apron, and it's going to be pretty handy when market season comes. Now then again too, I have seen some people adjust this to their liking so they could put their own pockets in and make it, you know, like a sewing apron or any other crafts you have, painting, you know, anything where you like to carry a bunch of things around with you. And so they have made adjustments to it. I myself have made some adjustments to it, and one of them was I made this pocket smaller because my phone isn't that big, so I made mine smaller, and it gave me a little, you know, pen or pencil slot here. And another is I made this pocket bigger just because hers was for business cards, and I don't always have business cards on me, so I figured I could shove a chocolate bar in here or two. So I doubled up on these pockets, and I've got a little pocket here for a pencil too, and then another pocket. And then of course inside I left these pockets the same. I didn't change them at all. But basically along here I did my pockets in a different place than she did. So there's one hack for you. You can do your own lines wherever you want, or you can do her lines and make it less complicated for yourself. I also used a hook on here instead of a D-ring, and I don't know whether it's going to be better or not. I just felt like it. And what else did I do that was different? Oh, I don't like burning the ends of the webbing. Some people burn the ends so they don't fray. So I actually sewed on little cork stoppers on the end here. And I also made this pocket deeper. It goes almost all the way down to the bottom, just so I could put my espresso wallet in here and keep it with me at all times. Hers was a bit lower and a bit shorter, and there's nothing wrong with that. She did a great pattern. I just made it longer so I could fit my wallet in for sure. The thing with doing hacks though is you have to be careful, because I came awfully close to running into my zipper when I moved this up, and I didn't realize that till later, because now she has her band sewed on the top edge and the bottom edge, and I did two lines in the middle because I can't sew on the bottom edge. So sometimes when you hack the living daylights out of things, you realize that there was a reason why the designer did what she did. Though the other thing is I got really close down here too, so I had to be careful when I was doing my final stitching that I didn't run over top of my pocket. So there are spots when you hack it yourself where you have to be careful that stuff happens. What else can I say about that? Oh, the other thing is I got these pulls and the zipper tape. I can't remember the name of this. I think it might be Nebula, but I'm not sure. But it is really cool because it's got the little astronauts floating over the earth print. You get that? and those little astronauts are just so cool. It's just beyond belief. So what else can I say about this? I think that's pretty much it. So she's a new designer. This is the Moody Market Apron, and it's from the Moody Sewist, and I'll put the link down below. And I'll put the link down below for the rainbow hardware too from RC Threadcraft. She's got little astronauts that are really cute. And I find the rainbow goes with a lot of different things because it's got so many colors on it. It goes with a lot of different colors and prints. So I think I've talked enough. How about we start some sewing? So I've already got my length of zipper and my two zipper pulls on here. They're big astronauts and they're shiny and I like them. And they match the zipper tape just perfectly. And now I'm going to sew the tabs on the ends. I'll sandwich the zipper in between the two like that. And then after I'll fold it back and press it and top stitch it down. And I'll do the same on the other end too. But I have to make sure that I'm going to run the tape, like the pulls, back and forth a bit and make sure that they're not, and this one looks a little wobbly before I put on this one. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and smooth all the way through here. But I'll put these on and I'll come back and show you what they look like. Now just to show you what I did, I put the tabs on. This one's just sewn on. I'll have to top stitch it yet. And this one's sewn on. And it's top stitched. And I've got my 2 zippers on here. So I will top stitch this and I'll come back and show you the next step. Now I've got both sewn on and top stitched, and I've got my other tab. I changed to the fabric instead of the denim because the denim pressed too thick, and I know my sewing machine won't like the thick denim. So next I put this on the center. I have to remeasure the center because my mark is disappearing, and just sew the edge of it here and here like a little stopper. There, now I've sewed it on and I have trimmed it off like they say. Now I can put this piece on here. The one thing I want to think about is I've got directional fabric, so I want this to be the top and this to be the bottom. And I want my zippers to drag a certain way because I'm weird that way, so I made sure that I put it on the right way, because if you put it on like this and then pull it up, it's going to be dragging one way, and if you put it on like this and drag it up, it's going to be dragging the other way. I want to have mine facing this way, so I'm going to make sure I sew it on this way. So I'm going to match the centers up and clip it all the way through. We're not lining up this here, we're lining up this. So I'm going to clip all this and check my instructions one more time and sew it down. So hopefully you can see here I've already put my zipper on. It's all set. And I trimmed off this because it drives me nuts to have it hanging there. I might be sorry later, maybe I needed that on there, but now it's nice and smooth. So when I flip it over, I can put the lining on top of it. And I just go through and clip it again. I better find my center point to make sure I'm centering it nicely. And clip it across and sew this on now too. And then after it's all clipped on and sewed, we can turn it back and press it and see what our next set of instructions are. So it's sewed on nicely and I pressed it, and now I can bang, bang, bang some more. Now I can pull my lining up and line it up with my zipper, the raw edge. And that's how you get a pocket inside. Now it's sewn on, and you might notice I chose not to do my top stitching. It seemed to press down really nicely, so I'm not going to top stitch it. But if you do top stitch it, make sure you top stitch it before you fold this up, because you won't be able to top stitch it. So pay attention to the instructions. If you want to top stitch, she tells you the best time to top stitch. So I have my pocket on. My next piece is going to be this one, and I have to pay attention to my directional fabric. I want it to look like this, so I have to make sure to sew this onto the center here. Obviously, not that side, this side. So I'm going to line up everything, centers, and all the way through here. Clip it all and sew this piece on now. Now, is that not a thing of beauty? I don't even think I'm going to top stitch this fabric. It goes so crisp. I just love it. I'm just going to leave it as it is. It's very sturdy and it looks perfect. But like I say, pay attention to the instructions. Next, we get to put some flaps on. And when we're putting the flaps on, I hate that clanging noise. Make sure you pin up. I need some pins. Pin this up so you don't sew your pocket to your apron or your flap. So now I'm going to get some flaps ready so I can sew them on here. So this is all sewn together. I've pinned up my pocket so I don't sew on top of it with the next step. And the next step is, well, let's see, let's get some pieces out. We're going to make our little flap here. And I really like doing this because I like top stitching. And I get to top stitch this. So I've got my interfacing. I'm going to put my right sides together. Make sure I square this off nice because my interfacing is not cut very nicely. I'm sloppy with it. And I'm going to sew around here and leave an opening so I can turn it, and then I'm going to top stitch it. And I don't necessarily have to top stitch across the top because that comes when we attach this to our apron. And here's a bit of a hack for you. Don't tell the designer. I am just going to make my other pocket. She says it's for business cards because I never have the faintest idea whether I have business cards or not, or whether I hand them out or whatever. I am going to just turn this second slip pocket into a larger pocket, and then that way I can use it for all sorts of things. Maybe a chocolate bar would fit in there, besides just business cards, because business cards will still fit in here too, and any size business card, because I don't know from one day to the next what kind of advertising I'm going to be carrying around. So I'm just going to make this one, and I'm going to sew around and leave an opening so I can turn it. Just the same procedure as for the flap. And when I bring them back, I'll show them to you. Okay, I've sewed the little flap, and now I turn it. I really like this. It's got one rounded end for the round corners and a pointed end for the pointed corners. And you seem to have more success with it. This is a very stiff fabric. If you slide along right where this is, don't just poke the corners out, just slide along the seam allowance. And when you go through, it'll help push that corner out. Okay, so now I can go press this, and I'll make a nice little flap. And I'll press this the proper width too for the seam allowance. Now I'll turn this and press this. This is already pressed, and I have to top stitch here and then top stitch around here and top stitch this after I turn it. So I'll get those things done, and then we'll put this part of it together. This was the little tool I was using to, when I turned things around the right side out and dragged it across the edges. I know I fell off the frame a little bit, so I thought I really had to show you. I like the rounded side and the pointy side because it covers all my options. So now I get to change to top stitching thread, and I'm going to top stitch this folded edge here, and I'm going to top stitch this. I think I'm only going to top stitch the top edge, and I had to decide which I wanted to be the right side, but this looks like Greenland, so I thought I'd keep it. So I'm going to top stitch the right side here, and this top stitching will be when I sew it on. And then this one is going to be top stitched on the bottom, and this is going to be top stitched when I sew it on. I don't know where these go on here yet because I haven't looked at the pattern, but let's get the top stitching done, and then we'll check and see on the pattern where these go on my apron. So I have everything stuck on with double-sided tape. I measured out where it goes. This is not like it's in the pattern. In the pattern, it's a business card holder, and I made it larger to make it a large pocket. So I'm going to have some overhang here, and I'm not too concerned about it. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to sew down here, and then on this one, I'm going to sew across here. I've already done my top stitching on the top and around here. So let's attach these, and then we'll get on to the rest of it. Now that we've got our pocket and our flap sewed on, clang, clang, we can undo the pins here. Just for a moment, we're going to sew down. I should press it first because it's been bent up for so long. But we're going to sew as she instructs. We're going to sew down the center to make sure that our pocket is divided and it stays down. So I'm going to go draw some lines on here and sew the stitching on. So I've sewed the lines on, and I never ever did what anybody ever told me to. Instead of doing 2 lines, I got lazy and I came down and went across and went back up again. I double sewed here because I wanted to make sure that the zipper would not go past this point. And if you look at the other side, you can see that this way she sealed off these pockets. So you can use 1 pocket, 2 pocket. So the next thing we're going to do is sew this on. But the way we sew it on is not, I hope I'm not banging the camera too much, is not to sew it on, but we have to mark, make sure this is nice and flat. We have to mark the measurements on here that she suggests in the pattern and sew those lines on with top stitching. And then that way we'll divide this up into little pockets underneath here too. So I'm going to go make those measurements and do the top stitching, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how she's made pockets in here for different things. So my light is getting funny in here now, so I think I'm going to have to take a break. I pinned up my pocket lining so I wouldn't sew into it. And then, as it turned out, I sewed into it anyway, so yeah, who cares? It basically ends up making a little notch in there, which I can't take out because it's securing something on the other side. But that's fine because this is a huge pocket for money, either bills or change that you can hide stuff in. So I'm going to press it down again. I like having things pressed. I'm going to take the pins out and press it down again. But let me show you the other side. And the other side is finished. I've sewed on, I guess you don't need these pins anymore neither. We sewed on this before, and underneath we have another pocket because of the seam lines that we've put in. Now she stated on her pattern where you're supposed to put these lines, and I put the lines in, and then after I put them in I thought, yeah, my phone's not that big. My phone is teeny tiny, not like some people's, so my phone will fit in here just fine. So I made this pocket smaller, and then of course I made that pocket smaller, and this one ended up being bigger, and so on and so on. So you can follow her directions in the pattern and put the pockets where they're supposed to be, or you can be like me and be a rebel and put the pockets where you want them to be. The way I see it, this is a pretty good size on this side. My phone even fits in here, or a chocolate bar. And then there's a nice pocket there, and there's another one that's a good size for my phone again. So this is pretty much done. So now I will put the zipper in the back, because in the back of this is finished. In the back of this is a lovely spot for a hidey pocket to put even more things that nobody will ever see. Okay, it's a beautiful sunny day out there, and the sun's shining through the window, and I can't quite see, so hopefully the light is good enough for everybody. I've got this done. Now I can move on to the back of it, where we're going to put in a zipper pocket. This is the back. I've drawn the little zipper pocket on. I've drawn it on here too, and I'm going to sew around the box. I made mine just a couple of inches bigger, so it's going to look weird compared to what's in the pattern. But I'm still following the same instructions. I'm just going to have a bit deeper pocket, more snacks. So I'm going to sew around here, and then I'm going to cut it open carefully. And we're supposed to cut up into the corners right here. So I'll show you that too. Right now I'm just going to sew around the box. Okay, zipper box is sewn. You can probably see it better now than you could before because I used black thread. And now I'm going to cut it open. Doesn't matter how sloppy you are here, but make sure you're really precise going into those corners. Terrible corner sewing on mine because you want to be able to bend it really well. Now I am going to go press this, and I'm going to press it this way first. And then I'm going to flip it this way and press it again. And then I'm going to poke it inside and press it again. I like doing it that much because it helps get this nice sharp edge here. And then after we'll put our zipper in. So here we have it. I've pressed it nicely. This is the inside of my apron. So I have to stop and think, where do I want my zipper pull? Do I want it on this side? Or do I want it on this side? Which side am I going to put it on? And if it's against my body, it's going to be the wrong way. So I'll put it this way, because if it's against my body, I'm pulling it that way. So that's the way I'm going to put it on. And then it's going to be the same as the other one. So I'm going to put some double-sided tape on this. And when you're putting double-sided tape on, you have to try, because sometimes it's pretty fussy with your sewing machine needle. The stuff I have is pretty good. It doesn't stick to my needle. But you know, if you're putting it here on the edge, do you want to sew on that edge, or do you want to sew beside that edge? If you're putting it right in the middle, are you going to be sewing right in the middle? So stop and think about, let's try and avoid it, okay? Stop and think about it. So I'm going to line this up with double-sided tape, and then I'm going to slip it under here and stick it really good. And make sure that it is nicely lined up, because you can see it kind of weaves in and out here. So I'm going to center it between the two sides with the double-sided tape. And then after it's centered, I can sew it. This is very thick for my machine. It's 4 layers of almost denim canvas. So I'll go nice and slow and careful and see how it goes. Okay, the zipper is on. I didn't have any problems with my sewing machine. It was very happy. And I've got it on so that when it's facing my body, the little zipper guy's over here, because I like opening things from this side to that side. Everybody's different. This is the other side. You can see I didn't touch the skinny little double-sided tape that I had. It was right against the edge, and I sewed just inside it. So now to do the pocket, I fold this up. I line up the fabric. Let's pin it together. I'm going to go press it too, because it'll help hold it. And I'm going to sew from here, there, and there. But when I do it, I'm going to do it from this side so that I don't put my apron in what I'm sewing. So I'm going to pin all around and sew these 3 sides. And if you have to pin this down to sew it, then just go for it. And then that way you'll have a real pocket. And I think this pocket's going to be a good size for my espresso wallet. So I can keep my wallet in the back here. I won't have to hold a purse. And I could probably, yeah, I can fit an espresso in there. So I could keep my wallet, just like having a purse right there. So I'm going to sew this up. Also, I'm going to make a D-ring tab. I'm not sure how thick because this is denim. I'm going to be careful when I do it. I think I'll make this 1 inch and put a hook on it instead of a D-ring. And then maybe I can hang a water bottle from it, maybe. But if I press this all out and sew it, that might be just thick enough for my machine. So I'll just fold it in till it's 1 inch wide. Fold it over. And that should be good. But I'll check it out. I'll iron it really well. Hope it's not too thick. And that'll make my D-ring tab, which I want a swivel hook on the end of it. Okay, so start sewing. Okay, and just to show you what I'm doing here, I just folded it in a 1/2 inch and I made sure that this measurement was exactly 1 inch. And then I can slide this on and just do it the right way because I don't want to stick anything too fat through my machine. And then when I sew it on, I can edge stitch it again through both layers, and that'll keep all the frayed stuff inside, and that'll make it work. So I didn't do it as thick as the pattern. Okay, this is done. I have a pocket. See, pocket. And I could put my espresso wallet in there, hidden. And I have my little hook, maybe a hook on some water or some car keys or something. And now I get to put all this together. But before I do that, I want to, I do like to round off the corners. Or she's got a guide, corner guide, to clip the corners. So I'm going to do something with the corners, and then I will put right sides together. I have to decide where I want to hang this. So this will be, well, there, it's in the way of my little astronaut. Maybe if I put on this side, in the middle, maybe I'll put it here. I mean, you know, it's yours. Put it wherever you want to put it. And I'm just going to play around with this back and forth until I decide where to put it. Anyway, I'm going to hang this on here, and maybe I could stick my keys or something on there. And so that'll have to be clipped on carefully. And then we put these two together carefully, and we sew all the way around. We have to leave an opening so we can turn it. So don't forget about that. Maybe I'll leave it up here because this is kind of thick at the bottom, so I'm going to sew through the bottom. But I'll leave the opening at the top because I have to pay attention to how strong my machine is. So it's thinner at the top here, so I'll leave an opening at the top. And then I can sew around. Okay, I've sewed around. Left my space in the top. I'm glad it's in the top because it's very thin up here and it'll be easier to sew. Some of my denim layers were pretty thick along the sides here. And where I cheated and put that pocket extra big, I got very, very close to it. So be careful doing that. So I just have to turn it now and press it. And I might even top stitch it just to get it to sit down. And then after we can stick our little belt waistband on. Is that not a thing of beauty? The only thing I need is the, let me show you what I'm using here. The webbing. I'm going to try using this, the waistband and the webbing. And that's the only thing we have left to do. I've got these little weird, let me reach past you here. These things. I don't know how to use them. But there's instructions. So I'm going to put that on. That's the last thing, and then we're finished. As you can see, I've got my pockets for my bills and my change when I'm at the market. I put on, instead of a D-ring, I put on a swivel hook so I could maybe hang something on there, my keys, who knows. I've got a perfect size pouch for my phone. This could be for pencil or pen or something. Here's another slot for something else. I've got a double slot here for chocolate bars and another one for a pen. And then on the other side, I've got a large one that I can fit my espresso wallet in. And I did not top stitch, I pressed. And this I have to wash off. That is baking soda, because when you burn something onto your iron, if you use the baking soda paste when it's warm and rub it with a toothbrush, it cleans the iron off. But the only problem is sometimes it goes into holes of the iron, and the next time you use your iron, it spits it out. So I have to wipe off the baking soda, and we'll be all fine. So I'm going to leave this right now because it's getting hot in this room, and I'll be back tomorrow to do the last step, which is put the waistband on. So I've finished off my apron, and I just have to put on the webbing. Bang, bang, bang. So one side of this buckle has a rough edge and one side has a smooth edge. We put the smooth edge on the bottom, and we put the rough edge, which is here, on top. And this is going to be hanging from the top. That way I can adjust it, and then it'll hold tight when it's against my body. I still have to either put a match to this, which I don't like doing, or I'm going to put a little cork strap end on here, which I would prefer to do. And the other side, this goes all the way around and comes here. The other side is going to be attached here with this, with a stopper on it, sewn down so it doesn't slip. I guess I don't need that much space on it, but I will adjust it properly. So this is how everything's sewn together. And so I'll take care of the strap ends and I'll sew it on. It does say do the top edge here and the bottom edge. I'm going to see how much my machine likes sewing through this and all this layer that we have here to work with. And so after I see how much my machine can take, then we'll see how much of the actual stitching it lets me do. Okay, it's getting really hot in this room, so I'm going to wrap it up again. I went across once. I went up and down a few times to secure it on both ends. And I went this way a couple of times too. But I only went in about a ½ an inch because I didn't want to hit my zipper on the other side. So this is all secure. It's fine. No problem. And when it came to these end pieces, you know how the back is attached, right? When it came to these end pieces, I didn't, like I said, I didn't singe the webbing. I glued it, and then I glued it onto some scrap cork. I sewed around, I cut it off. I just don't like playing with matches. And same with this side. So it looks pretty good. It's kind of, I like it. It's finished. And then I sewed this on, but I did not sew this on, so this can be loosened. But when you lay it flat, it's stuck again because the teeth on the top are holding it. Or it can be, you know, tightened, whatever you like. But again, the teeth are holding it on. And so my market apron, my Moody Market Apron, is done. And hopefully I won't be moody when I'm actually at the market. I wonder how much candy and chocolate I can stuff into my pockets. Ha, ha, ha. So how'd that go? Did you do any of the hacks, or did you do it just according to the directions? She's got pretty good directions for a market bag, so you probably don't have to do any hacks. So make sure you leave your questions below. There's a Facebook group for the designer too, and it is the Moody Sewist Swag and Brag. And you can leave your photos there. That's where everybody's leaving their photos. And you can ask questions if you have any questions. She's right there. She'll answer you. And I look forward to seeing your makes. So thank you for watching, and I hope I see you next time.